Madame Web has become the #1 hated movie of 2024. Today, let's do the impossible and argue against its biggest complaints by the top biggest YouTubers. Because trust me, some of them are very wrong, and the surprising evidence I have will show you exactly why. Mr. Moistcritical, you're up.
It's like you're watching performances from people that are sleepwalking through their lines. There's really no true effort.
Although this complaint of actors not really trying is a very popular one, here are the two specific reasons this is completely wrong. Firstly, actors like Sydney Sweeney did an amazing job in acting the shy, nerdy character. You can see many times where her shy nature is just showing and her dialogue truly gives off a warm energy.
Can I trust you?
In Baby Girls, the crazy thing that makes this most impressive and shows that Sydney really made a solid attempt is the fact that she's known for her iconic role as Cassie in Euphoria, where if you didn't know, she's anything but shy. Anything. The rest of the Spider-Woman also put an effort into acting, and this is best shown by this taxi scene. Even a blind bat can just see how natural their acting was, and the group dynamic worked for that specific reason. And after doing some extra research, it's so unfair to say actors weren't trying when their statements about Sydney Sweeney specifically researching her character and taking the extra steps to fully delve into it.
Scavenged for every single comic that Julia appeared in, and I bought all of them, and I just went home and I read everything I could. I was so excited.
Imagine baby girl Sweeney sitting in her bed, waddling her legs, reading comic books all day to prepare for this role. Aren't you like turned on? I mean, aren't you like amazed? Aren't you impressed by this? The subconscious reason I think Charlie had a complaint of actors sleepwalking through their lines is because Madame Web is not a high emotional movie. So naturally there's a lot of plain conversation, which I'll give it to you, can make it look like they're not interested in their lines.
There's no dialogue in this movie that would ever be something a single human being would say to another in the real world.
There are also two big reasons he's wrong in this argument. And in the second reason, I'll even pull out the script to prove it. Firstly, most of you who watch the movie know that 99% of the movie didn't have cringy dialogue like this. Like, take this train scene 42 minutes in the movie. Here, Julia and the girls all have a very realistic, funny reaction to getting forced off a train by middle-aged Cassie.
This woman's trying to abduct us. What? No, that's not.
On top of that, Dakota Johnson does a great job at making the dialogue more natural with her awkward nature involved. Look at the moment when Cassie tells the girls to hide out in the forest.
Just, you know, be like a Girl Scout girl. Be that. Just be that.
The awkward stumbling appears very natural, and this is very well something people would say in real life. Probably only like 30-plus-year-old white married woman, but you get the point. You get the point. And my point doesn't stop there, because just a couple lines later, this is what the script states. Just another very natural conversation that teenage girls definitely have in the real world. So of course, there might be a handful of unnatural lines in the movie, but the majority of the lines are nothing to whine about.
She's a paramedic, thus her whole career is saving people, yet when it comes to saving these three Spider-Women, she tries her best to just dump them off onto their parents, which is basically just a death sentence because they're being hunted by evil spider guy.
Okay, now I'm gonna argue this point in a very, very unique way. When you first hear Mr. Charlie's point, it kind of makes sense and it feels like a contradiction of Cassie's character. Because paramedic equals nice and compassionate, be nice to me always, be nice to everyone always. But after doing some outside research on paramedics, here's the psychological reason that Charlie's point is completely wrong. Research by the Dr. Bill Institute shows that the leading profession for burnout is in the medical field. Paramedics are known to have the highest amount of workload, work pressure, and overall stress.
Literally don't even want to be a nurse anymore. Like, this shit f***ing sucks.
I hate my job, and I don't want to go back.
But Kosho, why is all of this important? You're yapping, buddy. Just chill out, baby girl, wait. The strange reason this is all important is because high workload means high downtime is needed to recover. In fact, downtime is one of the most researched things in this field because it's so important to paramedics and doctors. So poor Cassie over here is already suffering throughout the movie after she almost drowned, and you combine that with the fact that she's still a working paramedic, and you can see just how important downtime is for Cassie. So now imagine coming to Cassie in her time off to manage 3 teenage girls 24/7. What? What? It's very safe to say why accepting this responsibility would be a very dumb move. Her decision to drop them off to her parents isn't making her selfish or a brat, it's simply a clearly overworked paramedic that needs her own time. That's it, baby girl, that's it. Also want to really quickly sneak in the fact that Cassie doesn't actually know how strong this villain is, so she might think it's a lot safer for the girls because she finds out context behind the villain just a couple minutes after the scene where she says, "I'm gonna send you home." So just clear that up too, okay? Mwah. Okay, continue. But now let's tackle a YouTuber who has actual hatred against Madame Web's director. No, I mean like actual hatred.
She shouldn't be allowed within 100 yards of a camera for the rest of her life. As a matter of fact, all cameras and phones should take out a restraining order against her.
Okay, let's dissect his points and form a rebuttal.
The cinematographer suffers from palsy and filmed every scene while having a grand mal seizure.
Now, lousy cinematography has been a very common complaint about this film, but I, of course, have evidence that proves otherwise. Firstly, let's address a specific scene nerdotic and the critical drinker bashed on. The diner scene. This scene clearly didn't sit well with a lot of people because it was all over the place, but it was actually very well thought out. Let's break it. We start off with Ezekiel grabbing a hold of Cassie. He flips her upside down, and as a cool gravity shot, the camera also flips. This double flip was great because it makes it look like the villain landed on the ground while Cassie was falling back against gravity. So the next shot intrigues the viewer because now we truly see he's upside down on the roof, serving as a big shock factor. So I get it, the scene may look a little bit jittery and choppy, but I personally believe there was actual shock factor in reasoning behind it. But now let me defend my baby boy cinematographer just a little bit harder. What if I told you in Madame Web, Fiore has skills levels above average? Let's examine two scenes that show this raw talent, and trust me, the second scene might actually terrify you. Firstly, let's address the scene that we'll call Cassie in the train. Look at the way these high angle shots capture the anxiety within Cassie. Also how the wide shot of the passengers combined with the dull red has such an eerie, sinister vibe to it. And finally, the slow zoom into her face as she sees Ezekiel approaching. All of these eerie little details combined together made me feel so anxious when I first watched the movie. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I love anxiety. Although I'm losing years of my life trying to defend this movie, the one natural improvement that will be so effective here is for Madame Web to fully lean into the horror sinister vibe that they kind of showed here. So instead of sprinkling it in here and there, the whole movie could have used that vibe, giving it a Jordan Peele effect from movies like Get Out or Us or even Talk to Me.
The edit is beyond choppy. The amount of digital zooms and pans, it's absurd.
What if I told you these fast shots that are known as dynamic shots in the cinema world single-handedly serve the biggest purpose in the movie? Engagement. There are two reasons why these dynamic shots are incredibly engaging, and the second reason you definitely missed. Starting it off, firstly, these dynamic shots are visually nice to look at. In the movie Lucy, one of its biggest positives were the dynamic shots that hooked us in, whether it was her sitting on a chair and time traveling, or us visually seeing her brain transform. So although there's a big majority of people bashing on these type of editing, there is a big crowd, a younger crowd that actually really enjoys it. But secondly, the more important reason, these dynamic shots are so crucial because they contrast directly against the normal energy of the movie. At the diner scene, the editing is purposely sped up because it's building up dynamic momentum and energy just for Cassie to realize this is simply a vision. Her brain was moving at 1,000 miles per second, everything was fast, but in reality, she was standing in a still, quiet, dark forest. And I know it truly engaged a lot of people in. This would not have hit as hard if the shots leading up to the forest were very slowly cut and not fast edited. Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, we officially defended the worst movie of 2024 somehow. Oh my god. Subscribe.